Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MTGO Traders. My name is Taryn, and let's go over a sweet Amonkhet standard deck, Esper Vehicles. So to start things off, before I get into this deck tech, I had been working on this for a while myself, but then an article by Pascal was released a few days ago. Now, I'm not trying to debate who was first or whose this deck is, but I did want to say, hey, this deck is similar to what his deck is in a lot of ways. Are they the same? Well, sort of, but no. Cards are in different slots and do different things based on my experience. The sideboard, for example, is very different. But are they similar? Absolutely. There are only so many cards in the standard pool to pick from, and a new Esper Vehicles build had been floating around since before Amonkhet. With all that being said, I give props to Pascal for the deck and recommend you check out his video I'll link below. But for this video, I'll be talking about my personal tweaks to the deck idea. So here we go. To start off, this deck needed to be quite aggressive, so we're playing 8 1-drops. 4 Thraben Inspectors, and 4 Toolcraft Exemplars. The Inspectors to feed into creating artifacts and card draw later in the game, as well as provide damage on turn 2 against slower matchups. Toolcraft Exemplar is here and a great way to get in on early turn 2 or turn 3 with a Thraben Inspector on board with his artifact. Down the road, Exemplar may turn into a 3/2 first striker, which is always amazing. Moving up the list to a newer card from Amonkhet, we've got a 4 of Glorybound Initiate. This guy does some serious work. While also being able to crew a Heart of Kiran, it can get in for 4/4 lifelink damage on turn 3. That lifelink can mean life and death in the more aggressive matchups. Another 2-mana 4-drop is Scrapheap Scrounger. Sure, this guy can't block, but it can crew Heart of Kiran and recur in the late game, and that makes that a very valid threat. Now, moving up the creature ladder to 3 mana is a total 4 of Spell Queller. This card does some serious work against Marvel and red-blue control. While being a counterspell, the 2/3 body on a creature can sometimes end a game against a control matchup, since they're usually waiting for that big Gear Hulk to come storming out. If you draw this in that matchup of Marvel and control, be patient, have your mana open, and play your deck a bit more mid-range, so you can deflect a counterspell or Marvel landing on the battlefield. Did I mention this guy had flying? Because yes, he has flying, and that's amazing. The last 2 creatures in the deck is a 2 of Archangel Avacyn. While being great at deflecting board wipes and bad blocks, it can also help at wiping the board of unwanted creatures mono-black zombies love putting out if they decide to kill one of your creatures. A great finisher and a way to tighten the board state to a win. Moving on to the Planeswalkers, we've got an excellent 4 of Gideon, ally of Zendikar here. The 3-mana Gideon is great, but creating a 2/2 is something that just can't be ignored. It's a great way to build your board state, protect Gideon, and help finish a game. Of course, Gideon becoming a 5/5 creature to swing isn't too bad either. Moving on to spells, we've got 2 Metallic Rebuke and 2 Glimmer of Genius. The Rebukes are here because we're running 8 artifacts and 4 additional artifacts from Thraben Inspector. So the ability to tap 2 artifacts and a blue to counter a spell is very real. The Glimmer of Genius is here to help us on mana fixing and card draw in the mid to late game. Running out of cards by turn 5 or 6 is very real in this deck, so we want to make sure that we're not doing that. Another 2 of is Cast Out. We sometimes need removal, and Cast Out is great. While being Cycler in the early game, it can help you get out of a mana situation you don't want to be in. In the late game, it removes the biggest threat, Marvel or otherwise. And finally, we've got a 4 of Heart of Kiran. A great artifact, and not only can it get in for 4 once a turn, it can be crewed by just removing a loyalty counter from Gideon, making an empty board state not so empty if you have a Gideon on the field. Moving on to the lands, we've got a pretty decent shakedown for you. 3 Aether Hubs, 3 Concealed Courtyards for Scrounger Recursion, 4 Port Towns, 3 Spire of Industries, and 3 Island and 8 Plains. The mana base is fairly even and easy to get a handle on. The only problem being at times is drawing one too many hubs or spires when you're needing more basic mana. Of course, that's where the 12 artifacts and 2 Glimmer of Genius come in to help facilitate the mana base. And that is it for the main board. I believe the differences in my list from Pascal's is a 2 of Eldrazi Sky Spawner instead of 2 of Glimmer of Genius, as well as some mana base tweaks. I include Glimmer here over the Spawner for of course card draw, but also energy as we're running 3 Aether Hubs, and energy can be very important. The Spawner is nice, but only if you're really needing a game 2 threat to board wipe a turn earlier. Something worth considering. Flying is great too, but again, the deck does a pretty great job at racing against other decks. So while flight is great, card draw to me should be more leaned against. This deck is aggressive, and running out of cards on turn 5 or 6 is not good if you're behind. And let's move on to the most differences, the sideboard. We've got a 2 of Authority of the Consuls here. This card I feel is highly underrated. In the zombie matchups where we're playing against zombies that create more zombies, the life gain becomes super real. It can usually buy you enough time to draw into removal like a Fumigate or Declaration in Stone. Speaking of those, we've got a 3 of Declaration in Stone and 2 Fumigates. We need removal, and one of the best pieces of removal against zombies is Declaration in Stone. It's just ridiculous. Fumigate is for more of the mid-range or aggro matchups like red-white humans and other vehicle decks, etc., as well as zombies. But Declaration in Stone is just amazing. To add on to the removal train, we've got 2 Stasis Snares to catch a big threat as soon as it hits the field. Usually a Gearhulk or an Ulamog if we still have the lands. Another removal spell but also creature is Angel of Sanctions, a fantastic removal spell that can remove things twice, but is also a decent 3/4 body to get in the air and do some real damage. Finally, to deal with the pesky Marvel threat, we've got 2 Negates and 2 Dispossess. Dispossess? Really? You can't be serious. Yes, I can be. Our black mana options are limited in the deck, and Lost Legacy isn't that great against Marvel. But Dispossess hits Marvel, Gearhulks, and any other threat that's difficult to deal with, like a Heart of Kiran at times. Don't underestimate this card. It's actually good. And in this sideboard, it just makes sense. I know Dispossess is going to be a high point of contention here in the sideboard, and I definitely think that it is going to be one of those cards that you're definitely going to love or hate. It's very polarizing. But I think in the particular type of meta we're in right now, being able to hit artifacts like Marvel or a Gearhulk or a Heart of Kiran is what makes this card so special. But that is the deck. Let me know your thoughts. I don't want to claim full responsibility for the deck since Pascal had a great article on it just a few days ago, but I think it's a fantastic way to combat pretty much everything in the meta right now fairly. Of course, Mono Black Zombies will be the hardest game 1 matchup. Your sideboard should have no problem dealing with the threats that come your way. And this is the end screen, folks. I'll be releasing some gameplay videos next week for the deck, so keep an eye out. Also, Hour of Devastation is coming up and preview videos are starting soon. Make sure to subscribe to MTGO Traders for all the news you could shake a stick at. Like this video if you liked it, leave a comment below on what you think of this deck and my changes from Pascal's list, and I'll see you guys in the next video.